Hello, Margaret Coolman here with Soul Astrology. I hope you are looking at the chart, because it's only really seeing it that you realise how extraordinary it is. We've got that triangle which has been happening for several months, years in the making. Pluto at the beginning of Aquarius, at the beginning of Aries, Saturn and Neptune, and at the beginning of Gemini now we have Uranus. So they are really exactly sextile and trine to each other, exactly. The outer planets, the outer major four, all in beautiful harmony. In air and fire, so very much about thought and ideas and communication, especially with the shift of Uranus into Gemini so recently, but also that extraordinary combination of Saturn and Neptune, which is where there are rules, there are principles that have to be followed, but they're softened. They're presented with a more fine purpose. The reason I think that Neptune rules the arts is because through music and painting and movement, dance, we pass through what tend to be barriers of speech, of language. So the boundaries between people become dissolved. We're operating from inside on a more creative basis. And so to present the individual rules, which is what Saturn and Aries is about, is each one of us knowing exactly how we would like it to be, is all softened and expressed in a way where we can see that actually other people have the same things. I mean, I want to be happy. Well, doesn't everybody? And I want my family to be safe. Yes. These are human. These go past the boundaries. So, there they are in beautiful harmony. But they are principles. The distant planets are like teachers. They're teaching us the sort of correct way to operate these principles. Doesn't mean that we do it that way. We have to learn. But here comes the Sun and Moon at the very beginning of Leo, making trine sextile opposition to that pattern, creating a basket of planetary energies. So we are being focused this month from the heart, or to focus within the heart, to bring the heart into it, on this distant set of principles that we're aiming to achieve or learn something about. It's as though we've been sat down in a cinema somewhere and the curtains across the huge screen have been pulled back, and now we're being shown the bigger picture. It's like you want to see the bigger picture. Here it is. Mind you look at it from your heart, because otherwise you're going to say all kinds of things, like it's not possible. We're going to need assistance to do this from material means, technology and so on. It's like, no, this is the bigger picture for humanity. We need to be not daunted by it. And coming at it with an open heart, the positivity of Leo, the warm fire, and the friendly sharing. It's like, whoa, here's a big picture, hey, but this is worth having a go at. Much different approach. So, there is a kind of a sense that with this, because the pattern doesn't include everything, There is also the Chiron, doubly squared by that opposition, but sextiling Venus. So it wounds around relationship. But Venus is square to Mars, who is sitting on the South Node in Virgo. The relating, the testing out the words, just saying how you feel when it involves a painfulness. That Mars in Virgo, looking at the history of humanity, would automatically find fault. And, you can't say that. That's not helpful. Critical, judgmental, foolish, whatever people say, I am right and you're wrong. Well, somebody's going to be on the wrong end of that one. So it's not, on its negative use, it's not helpful at all. The positive use, of course, is the energy to actually do whatever work is required. And one of the beauties of Virgo is that it is really aiming to improve life. The intention is good. And when it pays attention to what's actually out there, reality checking, and finding out what people actually want and need, not always the same, it can produce, it can do the work to actually bring about the healing. So the positive of Mars on the South Node in Virgo is beautiful. It's just that the South Node tends to be our history, past lives, or this life, or ancestors, or just general history, whatever we're told history is. And there's an awful lot of battles, wars, destructions, and bad health, the plague, and not knowing how to heal, except those who do know how to heal, of course, but they can be sidelined quite easily. The tendency with this energy in this new moon chart is that it's going to be critical and put a lot of effort around war. With the Venus and Chiron crying out against such things, it's painful, it hurts. There's a bit of a battle going on there. But the other thing that is sort of noteworthy about the chart is that Mercury, who is the planet of actual communication, words and how we say things, how we move about, Mercury doesn't connect to any of this. So it's a bit as though all these issues, they're big and sort of hovering, waiting their turn for attention, but we're kind of off doing the middle of Leo, trying to have a good time, at least for the first 2 weeks. So that brings me to the full moon chart, which I have to say almost had me in tears. It's so amazingly beautiful. I think we have been looking at this, astrologers have been looking at this date for a long time, but there it is. You can see, if you're looking at it, that it's pretty much a hexagram. It has actually only 5 corners, but they're in exactly the right places. The thing being that Mars has moved on in that 2 weeks and placed itself at the very beginning of Libra, so it joins in with all those beginnings of air and fire signs. The only point missing is at the very beginning of Sagittarius. If we put that in, it would be a perfect hexagram. I've been wondering whether I should call it a hexagon. I looked up the 2 words, and they seem to be saying almost the same thing. And I've forgotten again what I thought about that. So hexagram seems to want to be said at the moment. And you get hexagrams in the I Ching, which are just 6 lines, aren't they? Whereas here we've got that beautiful shape that bees use to make their honeycomb, a very kind of mystical shape. But it's perfect harmony. So that point that's missing then, the ruler of Sagittarius, and we're interested in it being Sagittarius is missing because Sagittarius is the one who can see the purpose of things. It sees far enough. It's a bit higher up the mountain, most of us, so it kind of sees what things mean and can give direction. So the very beginning of Sagittarius is quite afraid of doing that because it's had rather a hard time in the past for telling people, the prophet crying in the wilderness. So, but there we are. It's ruled by Jupiter, who is expansive and obviously fits the energy that fits that broader way of seeing. And Jupiter is in Cancer, at the bottom of the chart there, with Venus. They are close enough to be operating together. Venus about love and caring, and in Cancer it's about nurturing, really taking care of everyone in the family. And the family in this case is everything that is, because Jupiter is there, insisting on full expansion. So this is huge love. It's telling us what that final piece will be. When we can do that, when we operate as humans, when we can operate with all that is, with that amount of love for it all, including, of course, and starting with ourselves, then the pattern will be complete. Which I think is absolutely wonderful to see. It's the culmination of, us watching the bigger picture in the cinema there on the big screen. It's like, a happy ending. Love heals all, which it does. It'll take us a while to get there maybe, but, we each have to do our own piece of this. We can't do anybody else's. We can't. You can only love from your own self. And you can only love truly if you love yourself. You have to be standing within the loving space inside you in order for it to radiate out without depleting your reserves. If you try loving like that, without loving yourself first, you drain yourself away. We can love ourselves. We are loved. Why would we resist behaving like our own soul? The soul loves its personality. It brought it deliberately. Sometimes we do silly things. Sometimes for a long time we don't listen to the soul at all. But it was brought to be the very vehicle through which the soul can love everything. So of course it loves its own vehicle first. In that chart there is the full moon chart, there is the sun and moon, who aren't having a lot to say with the rest of the pattern. So that's kind of maybe our more personal self, the directive. The directive is that the heart is still in Leo, and the moon, the people, is in Aquarius. So it's just another layer telling us that this chart is about the way to do Aquarius age. And the North Node and South Node at 18 degrees of Pisces and Virgo actually are not that far off trining the Jupiter. In a way, you could say the Jupiter is the next thing we have to do on our path, the path of human evolution. It may take us a couple of weeks to get to grips with it, but when the full moon on the 9th of August arrives, and during that period of time, let's give ourselves a week either side at least. But also I want to say this is a pattern to be noted over the next many months as a kind of guiding light. The six-pointed star, guiding our direction. Let's line ourselves up with the shape of the universe here. Take heart and go forward joyfully. Thank you. Step forward, dear human beings, onto this stairway. However daunting it seems, you chose to be here for this. When you lose sight of purpose and light, reach out to us who dwell there. We know that you are not weak or incapable in your unknowing. In your darkest hours, there are always stars that watch, whose light penetrates the thickest clouds your past has created around you. We see you and love you more than you can know from where you are, but trust the process of growth and know that your capacity for appreciation and joy, your loving brightness and sparkling eyes express the beauty and truth of reality far more than any amount of clever talk and fearful thoughts. When you are at your saddest, remind your face how to smile, and the tears that rise, let them fall, for they will wash your pain from you. Then turn to your sister, your brother, to see how you can help, and you will find we are much closer than you imagined. We are yourselves in light.